I specifically recall um, the bottom of 2010, so the end of the year 2010. Um, that was an extremely difficult year all in all, and at several points in my life, I realized that I really need the grace of the Lord. But that year specifically, towards the end of that year, things really came into focus. Things in my family were at a head, so things were worse than they had ever been.
That's good. I got it.
I'm spoken from Role Model Records, a young man living in the city of Toronto with a simple desire to just point people to the truth and the person that has um, revolutionized how I live, how I think, how I act, just who I am ultimately as a person, and that's Jesus Christ. I personally really enjoy music, particularly hip hop and rap, and so loving that genre of music, not so much the content and a lot of music out there. Um, I marry my two passions. My first passion being for the Lord Jesus Christ and His message of salvation, and then the genre, like my passion for music as well. So my desire is to take these two things and fuse them into this beautiful thing that hopefully can lead people to truth, right? So the easiest way I can put it is I love God, I love people, and I love hip hop. And those three things sort of melt and coalesce into this thing called spoken. So yeah, the hope is my music is that I would really show people how that truth really affects them in real ways. And so I try to do this by being fairly personal with a lot of my records and just showing that the gospel isn't some abstract, lofty truth or lofty idea, but to just show that it has real effect on how we live day to day. I ain't got a horror story. God kept me in my youth. I give Him all the glory. I guess I could be considered. Well, shout out to Truth for that. I guess I could be considered a church kid. So I grew up under the tutelage of the gospel. I heard the good news proclaimed through my household. Problem is, though, I didn't always see that fleshed out a lot. So specifically in my parental dynamics, I would say I saw evidence of salvation more in my dad's life than I did in my mom's life, and so for a long time, I don't even say the gospel was the last thing on my mind because it wasn't even on my mind, right? Specifically because I didn't see how it fleshed itself out in their relationships. I definitely saw it fleshed out in one individual's life, and so I knew the script basically. I played religion and I played church, believing that I was relatively good because I hadn't killed anyone. I did well in school, and teachers liked me because I was respectful. But at the age of 14, the Lord in His will opened up my eyes to see that had I died at that moment, that I was headed for hell because I was a sinner and I had enmity with God. I had a lot of pride issues, a lot of lust issues. But because these things were more internal and less external, I deemed myself as being better than other people, better than those running the streets. But I was sorely mistaken, and then the Lord showed me that, like in His eyes, unrepentant sin is unrepentant sin. I specifically remember toward the end of 2010, it being extremely challenging. The entire year was just really strange, and oftentimes throughout my life, throughout my Christian walk, I realized that I need the grace of God. But specifically in this moment, I remember a lot of things coming to a head, and me feeling like, God, now more than ever, I really need You to shine Your grace. Things in my family were coming to a head, so there was just all types of situations happening. Just a lot of things were just spilling over, so that was challenging. Unfortunately, that spilled out into my academic life, and suffered in school a little bit. Additionally, there was a 4-year-long relationship with a lady that I was pursuing, which was coming to an unfortunate end. So take all these different things. It was just a mess of a situation. But what was really interesting was that, almost as an oxymoron, music was going very well this year as well. So a lot of good things were happening. I was traveling. I was doing some really good concerts, making some really good contacts. But it was interesting because I'd leave this amazing musical experience, whether it was a show or an interview, and I'd step into what was really turmoil in my own life. So it was just this really strange year. And it was through that my project, Bright Days, Dark Nights, was birthed, because it was such an odd year for me. I didn't know how to deal with these two things at once, especially when, on one hand, I'm getting what I love musically, but what really matters the most, i.e. personal life and family, was just in shambles, because all this is going on, and then you begin to act out in simple ways as well. So I was battling both external and internal pressures, and I recall really just crying to the Lord for Him to really make His grace known to me. And so it's particularly because of seasons like that the expression "only grace" means a whole lot to me. That's pretty much my mantra a lot. And so that season of life really just drove that in all the more, that really everything is a product of grace. And the Lord has been faithful, that He's rehabilitated a lot of those things, and is in the process of continuing to rehabilitate those things. I glorify by trying to just daily live out what I believe the Lord's called me to live out. At this season of my life, primarily, I am a son, a church member, a brother, and then a rapper. Probably in that order. So the various responsibilities that the Lord has put in my life, I just try to honor them and try to give priority to what priority is. So that means being heavily committed to my local church, and being submitted to my elders, trying to keep family a priority, and then at the same time trying to steward this platform of hip-hop and urban music that the Lord has given me. And then seeing to it that I'm being excellent in my craft, seeing to it that I'm trying to kill it musically, right? Because I think it's worship when you try to do the very best you can with the talents the Lord has given you. So I'm trying to make the dopest music I've ever made. I'm trying to put out the best videos I've ever made. Ultimately, to point people to Jesus. So I glorify by going hard in all areas of my life. In my personal life, primarily, first of all, because doing that well gives merit to my public life. So I glorify by trying to kill it privately and then kill it publicly as well. So